Sunday. 60-second predictions coming at you now. Falcons, Saints. First up, we get the 5-8 Atlanta Falcons visiting the 4-9 New Orleans Saints. Now, this is a divisional matchup. However, both of these teams don't do too well within their own division. The Falcons do cover a little bit better overall, where the Saints don't. Two abysmal offenses, some upside on each side. Take a look for Alvin Kamara to do something, and Marcus Mariota as well. Now, there is potential for this to be a fast track with lots of points scored. With that in mind, keeping in mind that 43.5 total, we do like the over here, as we do see this being a high-scoring affair. Both of these teams are on a 2-game losing streak, are 1 or 4 in their last 5, so there is something to play for here. Keeping that fast track in mind, we are going to side with the home squad here, and that -4. We are going to take that over 43.5, and because it's going to be a fast track, we're going to take Alvin Kamara anytime TD. Steelers, Panthers. Next up, we got the 5-8 Steelers on the road to the 5-8 Panthers. Carolina is favored by 3, and the total has been set at 37.5. Not a lot of stats here that are going to make you run to the betting window and just drop some major coin on this. Steelers are 3-2 in their last 5, but have dropped their last 1. Carolina has dropped their last 2. Neither of these teams play too well outside of their conference, so again, not much to go on here. We do like the ground game in this. It's going to be a Donta Foreman versus Najee Harris battle. Whoever wins that most likely will be the team that comes out on top. There's not a whole lot in this game that is going to stand out. We're just hoping that each of these teams can get to 20 points. Nothing too much to run home to with respect to the points, 4 points against the home and away splits. We're looking at a 20-20 game, which gets us over that 37.5. With that being said, we do like the Carolina Panthers to actually cover this game with those 3 points. We are going to take the over 37.5 and give us Najee Harris anytime TD. Eagles, Bears. Next up, we got the 12-1 Philadelphia Eagles on the road to the 3-10 Chicago Bears. Eagles favored by 9 in this match. Total set at 48.5. The over-unders look real good here. We're liking this over, and Philly tends to cover on the road as well. The Bears have lost 6 in a row. They're 0-5 in their last 5. Obviously, they do not play well within their conference. In fact, they're 1-8. Reverse that over for Philly. They're 7-1 in the conference. They're 5-0 in non-conference. They've won 4 in a row. They're 4-1 in their last 5. Other than that, lost to Washington. Now, you want to talk about weather. It's going to be 8 degrees northeast, 25 to 35 miles an hour. My goodness, this is going to be a big running game. And who is that going to favor? That's going to favor the Philadelphia Eagles. So take your props on Hurts, take your props on Sanders, because they are going to be running the ball a heck of a lot. Keeping all that in mind, we think this might be a trap spot for the Eagles, or at least the system says it's going to be. So we're taking the Bears +9. We're taking the under, and we're going to take Miles Sanders anytime TD. Chiefs, Texans. Next up, we got the 10-3 Chiefs traveling to the 1-11-1 Houston Texans. 49.5 total is set. KC -14.5 points. KC is 6-3 in the conference, where the Houston Texans are 1-6-1. They've lost 8 in a row and 0-5 in their last 5, where the Chiefs are on a 1-game winning streak, 4-1 in their last 5. Weather won't be too much of a factor. 10 to 50 mile an hour winds out of the north-northeast. You can see here the Chiefs do score a ton of points on the road, where the Texans give up a ton of points at home. Texan bettors are looking for a sneaky backdoor cover, which the Houston Texans tend to do quite a bit. Don't think it's going to happen in this spot, though. So keeping that in mind, we're going to take KC with the points. Don't like taking a lot of points like that sometimes, but sometimes you got it. We're going to take the under at 49.5 and give us Juju Smith-Schuster anytime TD. Cowboys, Jaguars. Next up, we got the 10-3 Dallas Cowboys headed into Jacksonville to face the 5-8 Jaguars. Dallas is favored by 4 in this game. That seems a little suspicious, and the total is set at 48. Dallas tends to cover on the road at 8-5. Jacksonville, over-unders again, nothing much there that we're really going to be writing home about. Now, Dallas is 3-0 non-conference, where Jacksonville is 0-4 non-conference. Makes you think. Weather won't be playing a factor. It's going to be 54, 5 to 10 mile an hour winds out of the north-northeast, a little bit of cloud coverage. Now you can see here, both teams tend to put up some decent points and tend to not give up too much. So with that total of 48, don't know where it's going to go. Keeping that in mind, we are going to take Dallas with those 4 points. We think that it just might be a little bit of trap to get some more money on the Jacksonville side. And of course, we are going to go over that 48 total, and we're 3 weeks in a row, 2 weeks in a row, give us Tony Pollard anytime TD. Cardinals, Broncos. This week's Snooze Fest comes to you via Mile High City in Denver with the 4-9 Arizona Cardinals on the road to the 3-10 Denver Broncos. Denver is favored by 1.5 in this game, and the total is set at 36.5. Not a whole lot of number here to make me want to run and bet this game, so I probably will stay away from it. However, our system will have a pick for you shortly. Weather should not be too much of a factor. It's going to be 6 degrees, so a little bit cold. Look for that run game to be employed quite heavily. 5 to 10 miles an hour out of the northeast, a little bit of cloud cover. Denver doesn't score a lot at home. They don't give up a lot at home. Arizona tends to get upwards of those 20 points on both sides. So keeping that in mind, we are going to take Denver minus 1.5. We think it's going to be a defensive battle. Running backs will win this game. We don't like Arizona in that spot. And with that being said, let's take the under and give us DeAndre Hopkins anytime TD. Lions, Jets. Next up, we got 7-6 New York Jets hosting the 6-7 Detroit Lions. Jets are favored by 1. Total is set at 43.5. Ron Esqueda said it best. Not smart to bet against Detroit right now. They are playing at a different level, and we tend to agree with you, Ron. The over-unders are heavy on Detroit's side, and they tend to cover more than they don't. So with that being said, Detroit is running on a win streak right now. Big win against Minnesota last week. Weather's not going to be too much of a factor here. Coming out of the east, 10 to 20 miles an hour. We think this is going to be a heavy run game with a little bit of pass option. We're liking Amon-Ra St. Brown for that anytime TD and give us the Detroit Lions to cover that spread. And we're also going to take the over. Well, why not? Because Ron said to. Thanks, Ron. Also, shout out to Eric Webster for letting us know our Minnesota Vikings pick last week aged like milk. Patriots, Raiders. Next up, we got the 7-6 New England Patriots traveling all the way to Sin City to face the 5-1 Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are favored -1, and the total is set at 44.5. See the numbers again here. Nothing is really jumping off the page, sending me into a frenzy. In conference, Patriots are 5-3, whereas the Raiders are 4-5. Raiders are losers of 1. Patriots are winner of 1. Both 3-2 in their last 5. So again, there's nothing really jumping off the page here. Weather won't be a factor as we are inside. There could be a good amount of points, so perhaps that is our key. Now, both teams are in the hunt for a playoff position. However, we like the Raiders in this spot. We're going to take them with the -1. We're going to take the over 44.5. There's going to be some points scored, and if it's working, stick to it. Devontae Adams, anytime touchdown. Titans, Chargers. Next up, we've got the 7-6 Titans traveling to La La Land. The 7-6 Chargers. Chargers are favored 3. Total is set at 46.5. Both of these teams tend to cover. Tennessee a bit more on the road. Over-under numbers are not indicative of something that's going to make us run around. So there is someone we're going to key in on this game, and it's only because we don't think the Chargers are going to stop him, and that is going to be Derrick Henry. Weather's going to be a delicious 65 with sun, light winds. Tennessee's not putting up a whole lot of points on the board away from home. Chargers are giving up a ton. With that, we're going to key in on one guy in this game, and that's going to be a Derrick Henry. Chargers are giving up almost 6 yards per run. That'll play very well into the big bruising back's favor. So with that said, we're going to take Tennessee to cover these 3 points. We're going to take the over. And, hey, why not? Let's take Derrick Henry anytime TD. Bengals, Buccaneers. Next up, we got the 9-4 Cincinnati Bengals headed down to the Bay of Tampa to face the Buccaneers, who are 6-7. Cincinnati is favored by 3.5, and the total is set at 45. The Bucs don't cover, and the Bengals do. In fact, the Bengals have a very strong overall as well as on the road split. Over-unders, definitely not something that I'm going to be looking at too heavy within this game. Weather's not going to be a factor. A breezy 61, cloud cover, 5 to 10 miles an hour coming out of the east. This is going to be what could be a big offensive day for Cincinnati. Tampa Bay has been struggling as of late to put points on the board, so I don't have too much trust in them. I do, however, have a lot of trust in this Bengals team right now that is absolutely rolling. 5 wins in a row, 5-0 in their last 5. I'm going to take them to cover that 3.5. I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take Jamar Chase anytime TD. Giants, Commanders! And we are going to wrap it up in the nightcap with the 7-5-1 Giants headed down to the 7-5-1 Washington Commanders. The Commanders are favored by 4.5 in this game, and the total is set at 40.5. Now, Giants tend to cover well on the road as well. Over-under numbers, nothing is really jumping out at me, but this is a game with a lot of playoff implication, as this could push a team from the hunt to the bubble. Weather won't be too much of a factor here. Cloudy, 30 degrees with westerly winds going 5 to 10 miles an hour. These are two teams that are kind of in and around that 20 point per game in terms of scoring and giving up. So that 40 number looks pretty suspicious, as we think there might be a bit more offense in this game. Now, with that being said, we do trust the Commanders a little bit more right now. They seem to be humming, so we're going to take them at the 4.5. We're going to take the over 45 because there's going to be some points scored here. And on an island, maybe by ourselves, Daniel Jones, anytime TD. Thank you for getting this far. We hope that you have the ability and the interest in hitting that subscribe button to help us on that drive to 500 subscribers. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week for 60-second predictions.